Was this the most explosive hearing ever?
The Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin.
Pam Bondi's appearance before the House Judiciary Committee last month made plenty of headlines, but most focused on viral moments that revealed nothing about the administration's priorities, like DOJ weaponization, crime, and potential conflicts of interest. That's why today we're telling you all about it. By the way, we just launched this channel, so if you enjoy content that cuts through the noise, hit that subscribe button and let's jump right into it.
Will John Brennan be indicted? Mr. Brennan lied to the committee, which you're not supposed to do, last Congress, and we deposed him. He definitely, 18 U.S.C. 1001, we're all familiar with it. He lied to the committee, and the Congress, and I think the country would like to know if, in fact, he's going to be indicted for lying. And here's why it's so important. I'll give you a chance to respond. Here's why it's so important. It wasn't just that he lied to us, it's what he lied to us about. He lied to us about when all this weaponization against the President of the United States started. He lied to us about the dossier, and specifically what role the dossier played in the intelligence community assessment.
What I can confirm is that we have received a referral from you, Chairman Jordan, to investigate John Brennan. His attorneys have made some public statements, but the department is still bound, of course, by our longstanding policy of not discussing matters. What I will say today, I can't confirm nor deny whether there is a pending investigation, but what I will say is no one is above the law.
This is one of the key moments that barely got any attention, yet it matters a lot. You see, Congress has spent a lot of time digging into cases like Russiagate, Arctic frost, or even the use of the auto pen. Most of these have led to wave after wave of declassified documents, with multiple big names being implicated, and criminal referrals sent to the DOJ. But to this date, not a single prosecution has come out of it. Up until this point, no one has asked Bondi about it point blank. And after being pressed, she did confirm there are ongoing investigations. But with everything already out there, a good follow-up question would have been, how long can this drag on? Another major topic during the hearing was the Epstein files, and two specific questions left the entire room stunned.
The next document I want to show you, that was in the title, the victims' survivors' names, all right? The title of this one is Child Sex Trafficking, Co-Conspirators, Fully Redacted. And by the way, I'm going to unredact them here. Les Wexner is in this. Now, your deputy Attorney General said, oh, well, he appears hundreds of times in the files, but he doesn't appear in this file until I forced you to release it, where he's listed as a co-conspirator, not to tax evasion, but to child sex trafficking.
Shouldn't ask a question I don't know an answer to, but I'm going to ask the victims behind you right now. First, can you please stand up? And then, can you please raise your hand if you think after everything you've heard today, you feel that our AG, the feds, have your back. Do we have your back? Raise your hand if you're confident that we got your back. And that's the issue, Madam AG. It's not your problem. It's not my problem. It's our problem. But to have redacted files that are not showing us the names of these predators is wrong.
Exactly. This should be about the victims. Other lawmakers focused on turning it into political theatrics, like Jasmine Crockett going on long tirades that racked up millions of views. But those two questions were the most important ones. First, it puts the spotlight on the powerful figures named as co-conspirators in the FBI files. Second, they highlighted how the victims still haven't received real justice. And this goes beyond one case, because it suggests the existence of a two-tiered justice system, where influence and wealth can shield people from accountability. Speaking of crime, there was a moment when Congressman Cohen set partisanship aside and gave credit to the administration for its efforts in solving the problem. Take a look.
I am from Memphis, General Bondi, and Memphis does have the task force there. The Memphis Safe Task Force has been operating in Memphis for several months. And we do have a Democratic mayor, Paul Young, and he's not against the task force, but he is against ICE being in Memphis and he's not in favor of the National Guard being in Memphis. And I concur with him on those positions. I think the DEA being there, the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, the FBI, who have been in Memphis in other ways, having more people there is good for Memphis. Crime has gone down in Memphis, although the mayor says he thinks it's helped. So I thank you for that. You would agree, I presume, that violent crime in communities across our country is critically important, and that's why the task force is there. Is that not true?
Yes, and if I can just add to that, I think the surge, the FBI, our FBI under the leadership of Director Patel, came in and did a surge in Memphis.
Earlier.
Prior to the task force.
Yeah,
and thank you for saying that about Mayor Young. He's been great to work with, and thank you.
He's a good guy.
This is exactly how it should be. Crime isn't something that should be filtered through ideology, because it affects everyone. The administration made it a priority, and the results speak for themselves. According to Axios, the murder rate has dropped to its lowest level since 1900. The Atlantic also wrote a piece on it with the headline reading, "The Great Crime Decline is Happening All Across the Country." The numbers are so good across the board that Adam Gelb, CEO of the Council on Criminal Justice, told CNN, "It's a dramatic drop to an absolutely astonishing level," calling it an historic collapse in the homicide rate. Then came Raskin, and interesting enough, he agreed briefly with Trump on one point, only to pivot and use it as another line of attack.
This president is the first president in U.S. history who has repeatedly sued the federal government for $230 million for the judicial search warrant at Mar-a-Lago, which was perfectly lawful and was never struck down. But now he's suing the IRS for $10 billion. He's suing the IRS for $10 billion, which I think is around 80% of its annual budget, because his tax returns were leaked. And they were illegally leaked by a private contractor who actually is in prison now, Charles Littlejohn. But he wants $10 billion. Now, well, I want to ask you the question of whether you think it would violate the Domestic Emoluments Clause for you to settle that $10 billion case or any of the other claims that the president has made against the government.
I'm not going to discuss pending litigation.
Okay, so theoretically you're saying because his privacy rights were violated in that tax case, and they were. I'm with the president on that. I mean, his Mar-a-Lago thing is ridiculous, but there's no doubt that his tax returns, despite the fact that he promised to release them, despite the fact that every other president released the tax returns, he suffered embarrassment when it showed that he hadn't paid taxes for several years, and he had a right for that not to happen.
This case is important for a couple of reasons. For starters, there's a clear conflict of interest, because the president, as head of the executive branch, would effectively be suing his own government for damages. Not to mention the fact that this isn't an isolated situation. The tax record leak affected thousands of individuals, and in at least one case, the IRS had to settle and issue a public apology. So it's clear that Trump's case for these leaks would have merit. However, apart from the legal hurdles, there's also opposition from Republican lawmakers, especially when it comes to seeking damages regarding the previous prosecutions targeting Trump. The optics would definitely not be good if this is done while he's still in office. On top of that, the statutes of limitations may have already expired for several of these. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more of these breakdowns focusing on entire hearings. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, you heard it here at the Dais.